Samuel Jacob Kirshner, voice of the Breeze, welcoming you to our Saturday morning live stream meditation and hangout. This morning, I woke up at around 4 o'clock in the morning and 4 a.m. to the sound of a real storm, rain storm, very dramatic. I was not expecting it after yesterday's warming up and what looks like spring or even summer is coming in. But nowadays, I mean, everything is so unexpected. Although we are told, if you check, I don't check the weather usually, but you can check the weather and you can get a forecast of the next 10 days and in some cases, even the next month and the season. But still, how it's going to be in the moment is always different than what we expect. And why is that? Well, we have our story, we have our perception, we have our expectations, and what can reality is always a little different than our story about it. And to just know that, to remember that, is an incredible asset. Because if you keep identifying your interpretation about reality with how it really is, you got some surprises coming up. So this week was a very special week. A cousin of mine died in Israel at the age of 96. And yeah, once again, we've been expecting his death. It was an impending event. And yet my reaction to it was completely unexpected. I found myself really being moved profoundly. And of course, like everybody else, I had my to-do list and I wasn't going to go to the funeral, but you know, I I wanted to continue to do what I was doing while dealing with what came up for me about it. Uh, but then I realized after a couple of hours, and thank God it takes me now a couple of hours and not a couple of weeks or months. Um, After a couple of hours of trying to get with the to-do list, um, I I realized that I am in that funny space that I call feeling lost. It's an old familiar place in which I just feel lost. I'm kind of like I'm not quite here, and it's a weird feeling. I don't belong to anything that's familiar. I don't feel like I belong, and I've learned to know that if I don't tend to it, that this can develop, it can escalate into depression. And depression is one of those teachers that I've been working with very actively. Um, Depression, in my case, can be very severe. And I've developed a practice that is basically not about preventing it, but really catching the signs of it and tending to them, opening my heart to them, having compassion and breathing with ease, breathing love. And it seems to really help. Whenever I do that, I it in a short time, once I really give it that kind of attention, kind of heartful, compassionate attention, it subsides and it transforms. And sometimes the transformation is really, it's amazing. It turns into, for no better word, into art. So I experienced a very, both a very moving week, but also very creative and artistic. Um, but I am an artist of living, and that is what I'm here for right now, is to acknowledge that possibility that we can turn anxiety into inspiration and stress into breath. And we can turn the piece of work that we are into a piece of art. So it was a very, very rich week. In some ways, it is informing what I want to do now for the rest of my life. I just had a big birthday a month ago, and I'm dealing with that question of how do I want to channel my energies. I have 20 more years, let's say, to work. What do I want to do with the rest of my life? I mean, from my perspective, of course, nobody ever knows. But I noticed that what I really want to do is I want to share my experience as an artist of living, and living in a sacred manner and in creative celebration. And I want to share that. Um, I think it's a very special time that we live in right now, in which that can make a huge, maybe not huge. Let's let the huge go. It can make a remarkable significance. The whole idea that with the same circumstances that we face, there is something that we can do inside. We can transform our experience. We can open up to life, to teach us, to show us, not so much on a cognitive level, but more on a heartful, visceral, breathful level, um, how we can transform the situation, give it another form, a form that's more joyful, calmer, and more empowering, less victim. Often when things happen, they happen to us. There is a part in us that feels like they happen to us. So the death of my cousin happened on some level to me, and that it's happening to me part can take over and get a little out of proportion. And I have learned that this event can also happen through me. I don't have to build a mausoleum around my reaction to it. Rather, I can inquire in a peaceful, in a loving way, and meet that place in me that jumps immediately with a knee-jerk reaction of how does that make me feel more unlovable, more unworthy of love, and turn it into how can I offer more love in this situation? which is exactly how I've been dealing with this. And it's remarkable. It's inspiring. It's more fun. It's less high drama. Um, it's creative and it's present. And so, yes, I'm really feeling I'm connected to a lot of love this week. Um, and today I'm going to go to celebrate my cousin Reuven's um, life. I'm going to go to Philadelphia and have lunch with a cousin of mine who also is an integral part of our family and was impacted by this. And we're going to celebrate it. We're going to celebrate his life. And also, particularly with death, not to fall into the myth in our culture that death is a bad thing or it is a negative thing that we have to be careful of, but rather, how can we celebrate death? Death is, I don't know, I really believe that death is, it's part of life, and it is mysterious as it is and mind-boggling as and it is a continuation. And if you want it to be a continuation of your life, you treat it as such. And one of the reasons why I love doing this work, this inner work, is that I feel it's an amazing preparation to death. And we all have our story with death. We're all afraid of it. We're all, you know, I mean, when I say we're all, everybody has a story going on with how is my death going to be? How can you not? Um, and while you don't want it to occupy most of your life, you have to address it. And from what I saw in my humble short life experience, having been quite a bit around it, is that you die the way you live. So in many ways right now I feel that my inner work is an investment in how I'm going to die. I don't want to die in this agony of why is this happening to me. I'd rather, hopefully, I can welcome it. I can flow with it. I can be part of it. I can breathe through the last breath because I really don't believe it is the last breath. It's the last breath in this body, in this form. But there's a much bigger breath in the universe. The breath of life is the breath of life that's in nature, in trees and flowers, in animals, in us. It doesn't die. So yeah, it's a very interesting time right now. And the one more thing that I want to really address is the safe and sacred place inside us. It's the place that I practice going to every time when I realize that I am disconnected from love, from God, from the soul, from the breath, from my body. I actively, consciously work on connecting and going to that place, which in Hebrew is called Hamakom. It's the place in which our godly, loving, Buddha nature, alive, one energy lives. That place that you have to first realize that you are disconnected, that you're in your head, you're in your ego, you're in your own way. And that's the higher power place. I, I'm calling it the safe and sacred place inside. And today I would like to offer a meditation of connecting to the safe and sacred place inside. So I will increase higher the volume of the music in the background, in which there is a pacing of the breathing, pace of coherent breathing, which is a slow down pace of breathing. So if you can just pay attention. There's nothing to read. Siri is talking to me on the cell phone, and I haven't asked her any questions. Maybe she's trying to remind me of something. So, yeah, what I want to remind you is just to pay attention to your breathing, not to do anything. Just pay attention in your breathing and try to slow it down so that you breathe in through the nose and breathe out through the nose. Breathing in, breathing out. Noticing as you breathe in and out, if there is any struggle in your breathing. And again, doing nothing about it other than just noticing it, where the breath gets labored, both on the inhale and the exhale. And just opening your heart and breathing with more ease. Breathing with compassion. And really noticing how, when you address those places in you that are struggling, resisting, fighting, that just simply by opening your heart and breathing with more ease, you can change the way you're breathing and the way you're feeling. And now be more at one with the breath. Surrender to it and let it breathe you. And notice both in your breathing, in your thinking, in your body. the sensations in your body, and in your heart. Is there a softening? Are you feeling more gentle? More accepting? More flowing? And if there is one thing that right now you feel you're still struggling with, whether it is a thought, a sensation, or an emotion, can you open your heart to it and breathe love? Let the breath wash clear and heal that resistance, that struggle, that constriction. And can you now just empty your heart of any negativity, of any fear, of any anxiety, and just trust for now this present place, a safe and sacred place inside of you. That place that you can always go to whenever you feel that disconnect, the anxiety, the stress, the worry, the depression. You can always go to that place inside your heart at the pace of the breath and rest. Rest there for as long as you want and need. You can actually go to that place when you don't know where else to go or what else to do, and recharge like going home. Sometimes when you are in one of these situations where things are coming at you, negative energy, triggers, assaults, before you go reacting, before you go knee-jerk reaction, automatic pilot, you can go to that inner sacred and safe place in your heart at the pace of your breath and rest there. Recharge, regroup, refresh, and then responding. This is responsibility, the ability to respond rather than react. whenever I find myself in any such situation, of which I was this week, when family member was spewing a lot of hatred, and I could feel that it is upsetting me and threatening me and intoxicating me. And I went into my safe and sacred place in my heart at the pace of the breath. And I just hung out there while listening to her. And it did not really touch me. It did not enter me. I was able to listen to her without getting intoxicated. And let me tell you something. This comes very handy, especially nowadays, when all kinds of people out there who have a lot of power, and that I don't know if you are like that, but all I have to do is see their face to start to get triggered and to go to that negative, hateful, fearful, reactive place. And while I can't control the initial trigger, I can. I have something to do with how do I want to continue reacting to that and getting myself into that negativity and hatred, or go to that safe and sacred, loving place inside and gather myself and remember who I am and be who I am by changing my energy, by channeling my energy. So if you like this feeling of being in your safe and sacred place, and you want to learn more about how to come back to this place whenever you want and need to, I'm your man. That's what I do. I love assisting and helping and supporting and inspiring people how to keep coming back to their safe and sacred place, that place also called Eden, that place we all got expelled from, and make it a way of life. We have programs and trainings and classes and soundtracks on iTunes. You can go to our website, the Breaze, BREAZE.com, to get more information of how you can join any of the programs. And you can find us on iTunes under Samuel Jacob Kirchner. I spell Jacob with a K. And have I forgotten anything? Let me go to my safe and sacred place and recharge myself. I think all I have to say right now is have a safe, joyful, and peaceful day. This is Samuel Jacob Kirshner, voice of the Breeze, wishing you a day filled with joy, oxygen, and ease. Take care now.